A global football conference kicks off in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal today. In 2018, KwaZulu-Natal won the bid to host the World Football Summit event in 2020, but that was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The summit is expected to have 30 panels led by leading football experts and stakeholders. They're expected to cover a wide range of topics from new technology to football products. For more, we speak to SABC News reporter Vusi Khumalo and video journalist Japan Mathebula.
Yes, the World Football Summit has just kicked off at the Durban ICC. We saw the Premier of the province, Mathebula, opening with her remarks, calling on the big corporates to ensure that they also do play their parts in the development of football, especially when it comes to the women's football, because we've known that since from the beginning, women's football, especially in Africa, hasn't been getting support. So she's calling on big corporates to also pour in investments to ensure that women's football is being developed, with a number of discussions taking place, from round-table discussions ranging from governance. This is a summit which is all about the business part of football. A number of panelists are here talking about the panelists. We've got Nick Sparks from the University of the Northwest in the country of South Africa, who's also one of those panelists who were discussing about the implementation of digital change. Let us welcome you. Thanks a lot for your time. Tell us about the importance of using data or collection of data from the very grassroots level, the development that you are talking about South Africa, that there's no data that is always available from the scouts or from those who are recruiting players from the very early age.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Africa is lacking in the sense that we have a few rich clubs that have the access to a lot of data, and they have the analysts to analyze that data. But I think where we are lacking most is information that we're getting from our grassroots level. At the moment, if you look at Europe, if you look at America, they are tracking so much data from their players, from the grassroots level all the way through the youth structures to the academies to going professional. And in South Africa, we don't have that. The structures don't allow it, and we don't have the resources to do that. But I think if we really want to compete, we need to know from an early age which players are the ones that we are targeting. At the moment, coaches are using their eyes and looking at it, which is very important. The instinct from a coach is still very crucial, but I think if you can back that instinct up with data, then you have a sweet spot. And I think if it would be great if Africa in general can start investing also in the grassroots level and not just the professional leagues, and just getting something basic like footage, filming the games, looking at the players, what are they doing, and if you can track them throughout all the youth structures, that's going to dictate who are you going to end up offering contracts to at the end of the day, and not let outside teams from Europe and from America buy our players, but then we can resource them ourselves.
Will you say that the lack of collection of data from the grassroots level, will that hinder the growth and also the development of football, especially here in Africa? Because we have seen in the years, Africa has been feeding Europe or other countries with its talent.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think the reality is that data analytics is a $5.8 billion industry, and Africa is not tapping into all of that because we don't have the resources. If we can start spending more money on looking at these early grassroots level players and developing them into our structures, we can then obviously create better players. Also, something to remember is if outside teams from Europe and America do buy our players, that brings additional income to those clubs, which then gives them more resources again to spend on their grassroots levels. So definitely from a development side, you cannot get away from analyzing data, collecting data, and getting people properly trained to use that data then to dictate change within their teams, tactics, policies, recruitment, scouting, all of that.
And how would you like such conferences or these World Football Summits to ensure that to play that linkage role to ensure that Europe and Africa come together so that such challenges are being addressed?
I think as a networking possibility, conferences like this is amazing. Business leaders are connecting with clubs. They are talking about collaborations. They are talking about data sharing. They're talking about just sharing ideas in general. And I think for us as Africa to try and reinvent the wheel would be a waste of time. There are other clubs and there are other countries that have already developed a lot of these things. So let's learn from them. Let's take them, let's partner with them from a financial point of view, but also from an intellectual point of view. Share our ideas, use our resources together, and then it will be a lot easier journey to get to where they are.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, that's Martinique Sparks from the University of Northwest, talking about the importance of the collection of data from the grassroots level to ensure that it's being collected and it's always readily available for the recruiters as well as for the scouts. It's back to you in the studio.